Hi guys! I was actually just watching a really good video about writing strong female characters. I'll link it in the description, but it got me thinking a lot about my own feelings on the subject and also about writing men. I too have a problem with the way female characters are generally written, especially when they're written as an attempt to make them strong or right the wrongs done by sexism in the past. Perhaps surprisingly though, I don't write female characters as often as I write male characters. Part of the reason might be because the stories I tend to tell are told in environments that don't often have a lot of women in them. Another more likely reason is possibly because I'm not very good at writing them, or I find them a bit harder to tackle. I know, despite being a woman myself. I think while I definitely have come to appreciate what true femininity looks like or what it means or represents, I still have quite a bit of resentment for superficial female stereotypes, so that may be part of why I tend to avoid them a little bit more. I think the strongest reason, however, is that I prefer to showcase my femininity in the way that I write men. I know that phrase can be taken a lot of different ways, so let me explain what I mean when I say that. A lot of people have a problem with the way female characters are written today or how they've been written in the past. I also have a problem, but even more than that, I have a problem with the way male characters are generally written. This is partially because we see male characters depicted more often than female characters, but also because I think when a female character is written badly, it's usually so laughable that it's not even worth criticizing. But I think the problem with male characters is a little bit harder to see, a little bit harder to pinpoint, and is a lot deeper than the problems with female characters since it's so basic. It's like, yeah, your characters are stupid. That's not what a woman acts like or what a person acts like. Even when male characters or sometimes female characters aren't written offensively badly, I still tend to not give a shit about them, especially when they're supposed to be heroic characters. I really couldn't care less. I'm not even sure what the main problem is because it seems like there's just so much wrong here. Part of it might be marketability. In order to make the character as widely appealing as possible, they strip it of as much individuality as possible. But there also seems to be this idea that in order for a character to be cool and strong and heroic, they need to be boring and stoic. Like, I get that they need to be strong, but this is not it. Maybe a simpler way of putting it is, it's a lot more obvious what's wrong when you strip a female character of any kind of feminine virtue. But when male characters also don't have any feminine virtue whatsoever, not only does that make them stereotypes, it's also harder for us to notice since this has just been traditionally done. The fictional male hero is very different than a real-life male hero because there is no feminine side to him. So when you do this to a woman, it becomes cartoonish and silly, but to a man, it becomes sad. He's just a masculine block of wood. There's a reason why audiences tend to like the villains and the anti-heroes more, because the heroes are fucking boring. They're not relatable. Villains can often have lots of different sides to them, whereas the heroes are very one-sided. They don't feel human. One of the few examples in Western media that I've come across, at least, that actually does write its male characters very well is Avatar. And I know that's still a bit old, but I don't care, I'm gonna talk about it. I don't know if the reason why this show is so good is because it's based off Eastern culture, when Western culture seems to seriously get this wrong. But anyways, it's still impressive that this came out of America at all. I particularly want to use Sokka as an example. I think Sokka is a character who wants to be taken seriously as a man, but a lot of the cast does not take him seriously. He's goofy and clumsy and has a lot to learn, and is maybe trying a little too hard to be taken seriously. But what I love about this character is that even though it seems like sometimes the show itself doesn't take Sokka very seriously, it gives him time to grow and shows that he does have strength, a lot of strength. And I don't just mean that he's a nice person and that's enough. He actually shows some traditional masculine strength more and more as the show goes on. For context, Avatar takes place in a society where the most powerful people have elemental powers. Not everyone has this, and Sokka does not, so that automatically makes him seriously outgunned in terms of raw strength in this story. He also finds himself to not only be the only male left behind in his village to protect the women, also his sister is more powerful than him because she has those elemental abilities. Understandably, this creates a lot of insecurity for Sokka, who wants to be the man that his father would be proud of. He tries and tries, but he seemingly continues to fail in this area, no matter how genuine his intentions are. What I love though is that I don't think Sokka truly comes into this man he wants to be until he learns humility. There's this false masculine idea that men don't need to ask for help, but it's not until Sokka asks for help that he really starts to shine as a character. Sokka is someone who continuously steps up to fill his role as a man and a warrior in spite of his weaknesses. It's his weaknesses that make Sokka a much braver character than many of the others in the story. Let me ask you though, when you think of a lot of the popular male heroes and male warriors in fiction, outside of anime and maybe some cartoons, do you really think of them as humble? Even if they're not overly prideful, I present the idea that I really don't think they are. They're just too cool to be humble. As a Western culture, we need to get past this idea that showing femininity is a weakness. I'm talking about both male and female characters here, because I think male characters need to show a feminine side and female characters need to show a masculine side. You don't make a female character strong by stripping her of any softness, and you also don't do a male character any favors if you only make him soft. Balance, people, balance! Where is the nuance? One of the reasons why I prefer anime so much to Western media is because of its depiction of male heroes. Tanjiro Kamado is one of the most simultaneously masculine and feminine characters ever. Even if you don't like him, even if you think his overwhelming compassion for his enemies and his emotional nature is annoying, you can't deny that he is also a super strong badass and will kill. He will protect. He will do anything necessary. There is no one right way to write male characters or female characters, but we desperately need more balance. You don't have to completely emasculate men or defeminize women to do something different. And for goodness sake, let's learn and remember what real strength actually means.